With the end of the race now in sight, we decided again to go for a top 5 position, but also to protect our 3rd place overall.
The crew now experience very different conditions to those they become used to. Very light winds. In the first week, the fleet were due to cover 1,500 miles, but by day 7 they covered just 200. This lack of wind meant that the leg would now last 42 days, but the crews had only packed enough food for 35. Fortunately, BP had predicted this and had started to ration food from day 3. All they had to do was to keep the crew focused while they were sailing and entertained while they were not, to ease the boredom and pressure of the incessant heat.
I let them do whatever they wanted when they weren't on watch, as long as it didn't disturb the sailing. And we had a cookery masterclass going on, ballroom dancing on the foredeck, keep fit lessons. It really did the trick to ease the boredom.
Although morale remained high, the yacht was still fighting the doldrums and came out the other side of the equator in a disappointing 7th place. It seemed that no matter how hard they tried, the front runners kept pulling away. They tried some radical moves to find out what was wrong, including putting a crew member over the side to check the keel wasn't fouled by a net.
I noticed another yacht coming up behind us, and they'd also had a tough time. But now they were making some big gains back up through the fleet, and I really wanted to find out how they were managing to do that. So instead of going to bed, I sat there for 3 hours with a pair of binoculars, and I watched their every manoeuvre. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was comparing everything that they were doing to us, and it was absolutely the same apart from one factor, and that was our mainsail. Despite our indicators saying that it was perfectly trimmed, they had actually learned that if they'd let their sail out some more, the boat would go even faster. And when I let ours out, we ended up putting 40 miles on them in 24 hours. It was a classic case of looking at the competition and then doing something better.
The leg wasn't over yet. 3rd placed Isle of Man was just 10 miles in front.
Came around Cape Finisterre in 4th position. We were really happy with that until we saw a 3rd place yacht on the horizon. And then we knew that we had to go after them, but it was going to be a pretty difficult job to get past them in 48 hours. We went absolutely all out to try and haul them in. For the first 6 hours, we just tried to outrun them, but that just wasn't working at all because they were just sailing at the same speed as us. So then we had to think outside the box, and Bill and I managed to find a little weather system right in the corner of the Bay of Biscay that was going to give us what we needed. And so we hung a right, and off we went to pick up that advantage. And immediately that we did that, literally within half an hour, we had an email on the boat, and it was from my mum, and she was asking us whether we knew where La Rochelle was.
Oh, this is it. This is the ley line. Last tack, heading towards the mark, finish line. We're either in 3rd or in 4th, plain and simple, in about the next, I'd say 25 minutes, something like that. So that's what we're doing. Madness, end of leg 6. And I'm watching Isle of Man just to my left. And I don't know who's in the lead and who's not.
BP had one last trick up their sleeves. By clever use of the tides, they approached the line side by side with the other yacht, but sailing a couple of knots faster, and crossed to finish just 1 minute and 28 seconds ahead after 7,200 miles and 42 days of racing. It was a fabulous team effort.
Firstly, you've got to be flexible in your working practices. Things don't always go according to plan, but that doesn't change what you're trying to achieve, so you have to be adaptable. Secondly, always keep an eye on the competition. You can learn a lot from them and then do it better, and we certainly proved that. You can also spot their weaknesses. Thirdly, if at first you don't succeed, try again. You might have to put a lot more effort in, but if you get a much better result, then it's worth doing, plain and simple. And never give up. It's not over till it's over. A lot of results can be achieved in the 11th hour when the pressure's on. But the key lesson is to analyse at all times. Keep an eye on the external factors that are outside of your control but directly affect your business.